Mike Kennedy. The war. Hamas attacks Israel. Israel bites back. So it's funny how now, though, it's so hard to get information that you think is even accurate now, because the liberal type media wants Hamas to look more like the heroes and Israel to be the enemy. So all of these people are being killed by the Israelis, but Hamas is practically killing no one, which, it's funny that numbers don't add up. If they say about 1,300 were killed just on October 7th, Israeli, and so far the figures, if you look up, 300 military men were killed, and it's like, wait, that number has to be like, 1,400 plus 300. It can't be this lower number. So there's just a lot of bias in reporting it. One of the things they're talking about is, all of these children are being killed by the Israelis, and it's like, well, you give it, 16, 17-year-olds, weapons, put them in the front lines and tell them to shoot, well, they're going to end up being shot. We had that same thing in Vietnam. You never knew when a kid would actually have something like a hand grenade or a rifle or anything, because all of the ages of the people were fighting. And it wasn't the case of like only the people with the uniforms on were the fighters. And what's interesting, of course, too, with this is, this undoubtedly shows, like, over and over again, that Hamas doesn't care about Palestinians. The more Palestinians that die, the better it is for Hamas. Because ultimately, Hamas's wishes are to destroy Israel, kill all the Jews on the face of the earth. That's their goal. They're pretty clear about it. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, which means, kill all Jews. And so that's their objective. And it's funny how with we've still got this backwards history going on where the Hamas was just a terrorism organization that these foolish Palestinians elected to represent them, 12 years ago or something? And sometimes, sadly, you get what you get, and you're responsible for what comes next. You put a terrorist organization in power in your country, sooner or later, you're going to pay. This time, Israel decided that, no, they're just sending more and more missiles over here. The weapons are getting better. They're increasing in quality and quantity. So we just have to go in and end it. We have to go in and destroy Hamas, which they're basically doing. They're having an unbelievable amount of success in all their military efforts, even though they tell they tell the Palestinians, basically, get out of the city. We're attacking the city next. And some get out, but in some cases, Hamas is there to shoot you if you leave the city. So the people have to stay in the city. It's this human shield thing that they do. The Israelis had this video that I watched, and it was basically talking about the Hamas operatives talking about one of their headquarters being beneath a hospital. And so they're really into the human shield thing. They'll put their installations and missiles next to schools, kids' schools, and all these different things because they think civilized people won't bomb them, which is almost true, not completely. And plus, they want these numbers to be inflated so that they want to have as many deaths of Palestinians as they can possibly get to paint Israel as the bad one. Like, oh, we, 12,000, they're saying 10,000 of their people, 10,000 Palestinians have died. And, only like 1,400 Israelis have died. Isn't that horrible? And it's like, oh, yeah, it's horrible that you decided that was going to happen. You attack a country that has the best military, most modern, one of the most modern armies, and as far as technical gear, the highest level up, it's stuff the U.S. and Israel have worked on together, some of it just things that we have, and, basically just get, they get the technology from us, and it's just so high above what Hamas has. I mean, a lot of the things that Israel is doing is at night because, let's face it, night vision is expensive, and Israel can afford to have all of their people have, the night vision goggles. So if they want to go into a place, they can go into it right at night, and chances are they're not going to meet as many of the opposing soldiers that actually can see them because they don't all have these night vision things. But it's kind of, I don't know. You could really get sucked in. I've been watching some of the videos about the war. I think I mentioned in one of my other videos that I think the CBN, which is the Christian Broadcasting Network, that Pat Robertson founded. Pat Robertson has passed on, and his son is heading it now. And each day they do basically a half an hour, 45-minute piece on it. And to me, it's at least that they're in favor of Israel. They make no qualms about it. So if it's going to be biased, it's going to be biased towards the Israeli side. But all these other medias are saying, no, we're fair and accurate. Yeah, like we've shown over and over again that's not true. So your other news media, the big three networks and cable news and CNN and all of those, they're going to be so anti-Israel, it's ridiculous. And, it's creating a problem now. All of a sudden, American Jews are finding out that Democrats hate them. Democrats hate Jews. I mean, this is something and a lot of American Jews are Democrats. And this is creating quite a bit of strain because, there's these huge anti-Semitic things that are being held at colleges and different things. They're just totally disgusting. And things like, are we bringing back the Klan, the Ku Klux Klan? What's going on here? And it's like that. These universities, some of them had a huge amount of money pumped into them from Arab countries for Arab studies and all this. And, huge amounts of money going into a lot of these colleges. And so they have a huge amount of people who take the Arabs, the Muslim side, no matter what, and who hate, let's just say it, they hate Jews. And it's just amazing. And some of the students that are in some of these colleges, the Jewish students have just become shocked because it's like, wait a second, that person's a person that sits next to me in chemistry class, and they're out here, with a sign saying that they want to destroy Israel. Really bizarre. So it's been a shakeup, I think, for American Jews to see this and to see how it's being reported and how biased the colleges are, the liberal colleges. And it's not pretty for them at all. Now, there's obviously a certain amount of footage that is being released by Israel. I don't know, maybe by Hamas too, but Israel, and so you've got all this footage. Excuse me, I got a tickle in my throat. So people are using this footage to make YouTube channels. I don't think I have a feeling these YouTube channels didn't even exist before. They just got on there because of the war, and basically all they really need is access to some footage and some news facts. And they can put them in however they kind of want. I was watching one this morning. It was like 6 minutes long, and all down the bottom it was saying this wasn't the actual footage, it was representative. And so they had taken different training things, or different views of Israeli tanks moving and stuff, and some of the bombed out pictures and videos. And they're just stringing them on in the background while they're talking about the recent events, but they didn't match up with the footage at all. So there's just I would assume there's all of this footage out there that if you could get at, and I'm sure probably if I wanted to, I could, but I don't want to. You could get access to that. You just throw it in there. You find out some facts about what's going on, or the way you want things to go on, and you present them, and you put them on YouTube, and you get all these views. So you've got to kind of be careful. And some of them you can kind of tell when they start talking. The buzzwords will come in. And what's interesting too, a lot of the stations the videos have the computer generated voices. And why do they do that? Well, they do that because they have accents. They don't want you to hear, them sounding like Arabs. They don't want you to hear them sounding like Israelis or what, so they just use a mechanical voice. They're better quality ones, but Hamas, what's Hamas? That's what the fake voices always say instead of Hamas. And they'll get some words consistently wrong over and over. And you see this with all of these electronic voice programs. And the people generating it don't know enough about English, I guess, to look back and say, wait a second. When they put Hamas in, it's saying this wrong. So you'd write in something like Hamas, or you'd change the word so that the reader would read it correctly, it would sound correctly, but they haven't figured that out, I guess. But that's, and two, you notice with a mechanical voice, it's always the same beat as it going along. There's no whatever, and even when they're asking a question, it doesn't change, if you know what I mean. See? And it's kind of like that. But, so, and one of the things, I'm interested in tech stuff, and so, this unbelievable amount of technology that's gone into modern weaponry is amazing. We've sent the Gerald Ford, the Navy ship over there, the largest aircraft carrier we have. It's got 2 nuclear generators in it. It has like 100 fighter planes, or 90, something like that. But unbelievable amount of stuff. And it's like, how can this thing even float with all that stuff on it? The thing is massive. And, they're talking about all these other things. And one of the things that has served Israel really well, and the technology they bought, they bought the stuff from us basically, is Iron Dome. And so what's Iron Dome? Iron Dome is these, it's funny, it's like a pickup truck or a bigger truck than that, and there's a box on the back, and the box gets kind of raised and pointed in the direction you want to shoot the missiles. And there's actually like an array. They're all kind of in the separate long boxes but put together. So there might be 25 missiles there. And so however they get triggered, I'm not sure what actually goes in, what involves getting it, but they shoot these missiles that are like $100,000 a piece. And basically they take down like 98% of all of these missiles that Hamas are sending over. Now, so practically none of their missiles are hitting the area compared to the number that they're shooting. But, talk about extremely expensive. So they're shooting these cheap missiles over, and Israelis going with these really high-tech, high-cost weapons and knocking them down. But, so that's Iron Dome. They have these situated. So basically, it makes Israel kind of not exactly, I don't want to overemphasize this, but most missiles aren't going to go through. It's an iron dome. It's got like this, force field around it that things can't get through. And, but the things can get through it, and, but now they have iron beam. And I guess I'm still a little hazy about how real this is, effective, how much it can actually be deployed. But what we're talking about with iron beam is an actual laser unit. Again, you have this thing that's this, might be the size of a semi-truck or something, but it works on electricity, and it works creating this, I forget what they said, 15 billion gigawatt, laser. And so it's done by artificial intelligence, because these missiles, some of them can be coming above the speed of sound. So you can't depend on a human operator saying, oh, this one here. And, it could be too late by the time they push the button. So it's got an artificial intelligence system that runs it. But it shoots this beam out, and it at least, it's not like it disintegrates it like on Star Trek and different shows like that, but it heats enough up to disable it, and the thing falls out of the sky. Or it blows up because, you've heated up that part of it. But seems to be extremely effective. But the big thing is, it costs $5 per shot. And that's compared to $100,000 per shot. So basically, you can have this thing. I'm not sure how quickly it can recycle, but basically, then your thing you need is electricity. You don't need. I'm sure there are other maintenance things that parts have to be replaced and everything wear out. All I'm sure of that, but with the missiles system, when you're done with it, you got this big box sitting on a truck that's got nothing in it, right? Till you load it back up again. But with this, as long as you've got, maybe eventually these would have power plants with them. You can imagine you put a small nuclear generator, or maybe they would still use gasoline and, generate the electricity right in place. Then you wouldn't have to worry about it being, power lines going down or whatever. But this thing, boop, 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 just, and evidently quite amazingly accurate, and very inexpensive per shot. Now, I'm sure the installation itself, the iron beam, one unit, I'm sure it's multi-millions of dollars, but once you've bought it, you can just keep firing it over and over again, and the costs are minimal. In other words, like they were saying, they thought it was like $5. So I don't know how they figure that, but you got to generate the power for it, and all those things. But isn't that amazing that we're starting to go into the realm of what we would have thought was only going to be science fiction? If they really can use this laser system that well. Now, there might be certain countermeasures you could do, and might not work well on days that are overcast. You kind of need to be able to. Well, I suppose they could use radar to see the things, but for if the weather was hazy, would that that laser still be strong enough going through that column of air with disturbances in it, moisture enough stuff in it, to actually end up still hitting that target and knocking it down? And then you get into the, invariably, like with the studying like tanks and the anti-tank weapons and everything, they do something better on the tank, then the anti-tank weapon figures out a way to get out around that, then they do something else. For a while, it was actually protecting tents to have this kind of stupid looking netting over them. And somehow, I forget the exact mechanism, but I watched the video about it, and some missile that's fired at them doesn't work as well if it's got this stupid netting over it. It's like you're saying, what? That can't do anything. Then they have high explosive chambers that they put around the tank, and you would say, oh my goodness, you don't want C4. You don't want a couple pounds of C4 going off at you. Well, yes, you do, because one of the ways that the anti-tank missiles go in is they have what's called a shaped charge, which means that when it hits something, because of how they built it inside, all of the energy goes out in a like forward instead of just all around, and that way it can pierce all this armor of the tank and get inside it and destroy it. Well, not if you have the C4 first, because the bomb comes, hits it, the bomb ignites the C4, but then the explosion is all the way around, and then that effect is the people inside the tank are okay, and the tank's still okay. I mean, just I don't know how many times you obviously can't hit that same spot right over again, but so just the technology is kind of amazing. I could see someone really. I limit myself to like 20 minutes a day of watching some of the things, but they're quite fascinating. But the crux of the matter is Hamas started it, and as Israel said, they're going to end it. Now, there's some talk of a ceasefire in exchange for the release of all the Israeli hostages. I don't know if that will happen, but I'm not in favor of a ceasefire, because ceasefires always turn out to be the same thing. You have a lot of weaponry that's brought in while you're in ceasefire. It's not like, yeah, you stop shooting, but you get in more supply so you can start up again when the ceasefire's over. So, I mean, the ceasefire only benefits Hamas. It doesn't benefit Israel at all, unless they get something for it. Now, can they possibly weigh the lives of 229 people against what Hamas will have put back in? But I guess they really have been doing a job on their underground tunnels. This is one of the best things that the Hamas and Palestinians did as far as being ready for this war was this tunnel system. The tunnels they've got to have air pumped through them, oxygen, air, they have electricity. They're all concrete. They're like almost like sections of a pipe. It's kind of an arch thing, but sheets and then a dome so that pressure doesn't allow the earth to crush it as easily. And so these tunnels cost like $3 million a piece. And I guess this last 1 or 2 days, Israel has just knocked a lot of those out. And the idea is, if they knock enough of these out, if there's a ceasefire, there's no way Hamas is getting more weapons, because the way to get them into the country without being seen is gone. And of course, the Israelis are capturing all kinds of Hamas people and interrogating them. I don't know what that involves, but I'm glad I'm not being interrogated by either side. But of course, they get all this valuable information, and in one case, they got enough information so they knew where, I think it was like 3 big subterranean meeting places were, like headquarters that were set up. Well, somehow they got them. They went in at night, and they just captured these 3 places. And then they went, the forces on the outside started dropping some bombs around. And of course, the Hamas people did what they were trained to do. They retreated and went back to these 3 areas to be, to basically, be caught and captured by the Israelis. They were all there just waiting for them. But, we want the war to stop, but I think it really can't until Hamas is neutralized. And yeah, I'm not kidding myself. Hezbollah's, they're getting ready. They're going to be just worse, probably. But they're being backed by Iran, so there's a little sticky situation there. If Iran gets too involved, then some other things might happen. So it's kind of like they're sending money in and weapons in. But if that gets too overt, I guess, then they know what's going to happen. Israel, I'm sure, knows where every nuclear power plant is in that country, every power plant, everything, you know. And I'm sure if Iran, they felt, really was going to use its full force as a country against them, I get a strong suspicion that in 24 hours, Iran would be a very different place with a lot of destruction, and the infrastructure would be, a lot of it would be gone. But, so there you go, there's my rambling. I was just going to talk about these Iron Beam, but the idea of the laser weapon and the, you know, artificial intelligence to run it because things are happening so quick, and just that idea that, you know, the weaponry is getting so advanced, it's just kind of amazing. And but pray for the peace of Jerusalem, you know, pray for peace, but in this case I think it has to be peace secured through victory. Bye.